Alright everyone, I'm bringing you a Swordsoul Tenyi deck profile. This is probably one of my favorite decks in YuGiOh at the moment. I normally don't really play a lot of meta decks, but I really like the Tenyi archetype, so having a chance to make them in what my opinion is at the very least a tier 1 deck is something I really wanted to jump at. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to explain some of the combos, what each card does, and how many of them I'm running. So first off, the first thing you need to know is all the Tenyi cards, Adhara, Vishuddha, Ashuna, and Hana, they all have the effect that if you control no effect monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then they all have a secondary effect that is, if you control a face-up non-effect monster, which includes the Swordsoul token and the Link 1 Tenyi, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then do blank. In Adhara's case, its secondary effect is target one of your banished Wyrm monsters and add it to your hand, so you can banish that from your grave and get a card back, which is really useful for loops and some interesting combos. So we have 3 Adhara, 2 Mexi, 2 Ash Blossom and Joy Springs, 1 Destiny Hero Celestia, and the reason we're running Destiny Hero Celestia, Destiny Hero Dasher, are because we are running the Fusion Destiny package, which Fusion Destiny, if you haven't seen it by now, is Fusion Summon 1 monster from your extra deck that mentions the Destiny Hero monster as material, using monsters from your hand or deck as fusion material, but destroyed during the end phase of the next turn. After you resolve this card, and it has to resolve, you cannot special summon monsters except Dark Hero monsters for the rest of the turn, and you can only activate 1 Fusion Destiny per turn. So if you plan on using this, it's most likely that you will do this once you've ended your combo, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to special summon any other synchros or any other fun things, and that would not be very effective. So we typically end using that. And the card we fusion summon with that package is Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. Monsters your opponent controls lose 200 attack for each hero card in your graveyard, so they'll lose 400. And then you can only use each of the following effects in Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer once per turn. So it's a quick effect, so you can use during your opponent's turn. You can destroy both 1 card you control and 1 card on the field. I typically will destroy him when I bring him out with the fusion, because he would just go to the grave at the end of the next turn anyway, because that's one of Fusion Destiny's drawbacks. But the great thing about Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer is if this card is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can activate this effect, special summon 1 Destiny Hero monster from your graveyard during the standby phase of next turn, which includes him. So he can bring himself back. So now that we've covered the Destiny Hero package, we're going to continue on with your deck profile. Here is Tenyi Spirit Hana. This card, its secondary effect is if you have a non-effect monster that's destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can banish it from your grave, target one of those destroyed monsters, special summon it, then destroy a monster your opponent controls. That does not target. We typically don't use that effect very often. The only reason it's in there really is because Hana is a level 4, and so we can make level 8 plays with it relatively easily. Next we have 3 Swordsmen of Mo Yi. When it is normal or special summon, you can reveal a Swordsoul card or Wyrm monster in your hand. All your Tenyis are Wyrms, all your Swordsouls are Wyrms, and you can special summon a Swordsoul token. Now, all the Swordsoul tokens that all the Swordsoul cards special summon are going to be Wyrms, Tuners, Water, level 4, 0 attack, 0 defense. While that token is in the monster zone, the player who summoned it cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Synchro monsters. If this card is sent to the graveyard as Synchro material, you can draw 1 card. You can only use each effect of Swordsoul of Mo Yi once per turn. Now, the drawback where you can only special summon Synchro monsters, that is for all the Swordsoul token generators, so keep that in mind. Next we have Swordsoul of Taya. You can banish one Swordsoul card or rare monster from your graveyard, special summon one Swordsoul token. Well, and once again has that same drawback, locking you into synchros. If this card's sent to the graveyard for synchro material, you can send a Swordsoul card or rare monster from your deck to the graveyard. Now, the other reason I really like Taya is it's a wind, and the token is a water, so you can make Baxia. And when you special summon Baxia when it's synchro summoned, you can target cards on the field equal to the number of different original attributes of the were monsters used for the summon, and you can shuffle them back into the deck. And so being able to spin 2 cards back to deck is really useful. And then the other thing I like about Baxia is you can destroy a card you control on the field. Just any card, I believe. I believe you could like set something and pop it as well. Yes, you can target one card you control, one level 4 monster in your graveyard. You destroy the card, but then you get to special summon the other monster from the graveyard. So Baxia can also be an extender potentially. And next we have Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous. If your opponent has more monsters on the field than you do, you can special it from your hand. You can only special summon it once per turn that way. And then you can only use each of its effects once per turn. So once per turn during the main phase, it's a quick effect, and it can be either main phase. You tribute this card, and you special summon a Swordsoul or a Fall of Albaz from your hand or deck. During the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to the graveyard this turn, which DPs are only fusion monster, you can add this card from your graveyard to your hand. So if for some reason you do lose DP, or you just use DP's effect and pop itself, you can get your Ecclesia back. Next we have 3 Swordsoul strategists, Long Wand. So this is my favorite of the Swordsouls. You can discard one other Swordsoul card or a rare monster, special summon him from your hand, special summon a Swordsoul token, and then whenever he's sent to the grave as synchro material, so like when you synchro with him, you can inflict 1,200 damage to your opponent. You can only use each of his effects once per turn. Next we have Vishuddha. His effect, his graveyard, banish from graveyard to hand effect, while you have a non-effect monster, which once again the tokens count as. You can target a card your opponent controls, and you can bounce it back to their hand. So that effect is very useful. Ashuna's banish from graveyard or hand effect when you have a non-effect monster is you can special summon another Tenyi monster from your deck, but just be warned that if you do that, you can only special summon were monsters for the rest of the turn. And we already went over that. And then next we have Vessel for the Dragon Cycle. Send a were monster from your deck to your graveyard. Then if you control a face-up non-effect monster, including that token, you can add from your deck to your hand one Tenyi monster with a different name of the monster sent to the graveyard, but you can only activate Vessel of the Dragon Cycle once per turn. I personally like running 2 of them. I think 3 is a little bricky. We have the 1 Lightning Storm, and then we have 3 Swordsoul Emergence. So it's add a Swordsoul monster from your deck to your hand, or if you control a synchro monster, it can be any were monster instead. If this card is banished, you can target a Swordsoul monster or were monster you control, and you can raise or lower its level by 1 until the end of the turn. You can only use each effect Swordsoul Emergence once per turn. One thing I like to do with this card is play it, add Taya, use Taya to banish the Swordsoul Emergence, and I can increase to make a level 9 if I wanted to make a level 9, or decrease to make a level 7, which would be Yazi down there. And so we're going to go ahead and move on. Next we have 1 Called by the Grave, 3 Evenly Matched. This card has been clutch. I think every Swordsoul deck should be running 3 of them. The fact that you can basically neg your opponent, or if your board gets blown out and you still live at the end of the battle phase, you can put yourself in a more advantageous place. At the end of the battle phase, your battle phase, or your opponent's battle phase, if your opponent controls more cards than you, you can make your opponent banish cards from their field face down so they control the same number of cards as you. If you don't control any cards on the field, like you just have a completely blank front row and back row, you can activate this card from your hand. So, really useful card. Next we have 2 Infinite Impermanences. Target a face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of the turn. If this card was set before activation and is on the field at resolution, for the rest of this turn, all other spell or trap effects in this column, including your own, are negated. If you control no cards, you can activate this card from your hand. Also really useful. And finally, we have Swordsoul Blackout. It's target 1 worm monster you control and 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them. If it's banished, including for Kaya's effect, which is pretty convenient, you can special summon a Swordsoul token. And that token is the same Wyrm Tuner Water level 4 attack 0 defense 0 token with the same drawback of you're locked into synchro summoning. And you can only use each of the Swordsoul Blackout effects once per turn. So moving on to the extra deck, we've already covered Phoenix Enforcer. We have Yazi, Evil of the Yangzing. Your opponent cannot target this card on field with card effects. You can only use each of the effects of Yazi once per turn. The first effect is you target 1 Yangzing monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls and destroy them. So he'll be targeting himself because you don't have other Yangzing monsters. And when this card is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Wyrm monster from your deck in defense position. So he is also an extender. So he's like a -1 and an extender. Next we have Colossal Fighter. And you're probably saying, why are you running Colossal Fighter? You're not running any Warriors. That's because if your opponent is running like a beat stick deck and they're going to attack over something, like let's say Numeron, if you make Colossal Fighter, when Colossal Fighter is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can target a warrior monster in either graveyard and special summon him. That includes himself. So let's say your opponent is playing Numerons or just beat stick deck attacks over Colossal Fighter, you can just special summon him back in defense mode. And you can just keep doing it. They have to pop him with some sort of card effect. So he can be really useful. We already covered Maxia. Next we have the 1 Boral Savage. I don't use him very often, but when I do, he does steal games. Boral Savage is when he's synchro summoned, you can equip a Link monster from your graveyard to this card, and if you do, he gets Boral counters equal to that Link monster's rating. And then he also gains attack equal to half the attack of the monster equipped to it. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can remove a Boral counter and negate that activation. You can only use this effect once per turn. He's pretty useful, and at the very least, even if you can only make the Link 1 with the Monk of Tenyi, you still get a negate. And next we have Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. A lot of people are wondering why I'm running him, and that's because when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can banish it. Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer hates this, and everybody is pretty much running Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer. So when DPE would try to activate his effect, you just say bye Felicia and banish him. The other reason I like him, especially for the mirror, is if this attacking card destroys an effect monster by battle and sent to the graveyard, he gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's attack, and that's not until the end phase. He keeps the attack. And on top of that, he can make a second attack on a monster during the battle phase. And you can only use each effect of Draco Berserker of the Tenyi once per turn. And then next we have Emancipator Risen Dragite. We're using Dragite because, where is it? Mo Yi is a water monster, so you can actually use Dragite's quick effect once per turn, negate a spell or trap card that's being activated and destroy it. Because if you synchro with Mo Yi to make him, or you've already used Mo Yi and he's in the grave, that's a water. And Hana is also a water. So being able to have a spell or trap negate is pretty good. Next we have Swordsoul Grandmaster Chixao. If this card is special summoned, you can add to your hand or banish a Swordsoul card from your deck. Most of the time I'll add the Searcher. And I'll just do like extender plays. Its quick effect is you can banish the Swordsoul or Wyrm from your graveyard, target another effect monster on the field, and negate its effects until the end of the turn. So that's pretty good. It's like having impermanence on wheels. And then next we have Chaofang, Phantom of the Yangzing. You're not going to use the winning Synchro Summon effect because you're not using Yangzing monsters, but when this Synchro Summon card is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add a tuner from your deck to your hand. Also, when a monster your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a Wyrm monster from your deck in defense position whose original attribute matches the original attribute of one of those destroyed monsters on the field. So having a extender on wheels is pretty nice. Next we have the 1 Baron Floor. Everybody should be pretty familiar with this guy by now. If you're not, he can destroy a card on the field once per turn during your turn, and he has a quick effect negate. and it's level 10, so it's really easy to make from Strategist Long Wan. And the next we have Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Chen Ying. So for each banished card, he gains 100 attack defense, and monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack defense. If he'd be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish one card from your graveyard instead. If this card is banished, except during the damage... Sorry, if a card is banished, not this card, you can banish one card from both your opponent's field and graveyard, and you can only use his effect once per turn. Next we have Monk of the Tenyi. This is in here because you can do stuff like Link Summon him and then use the Tenyi graveyard effect, or Link Summon him, tap a face-up non-effect monster to use Tenyi graveyard effect. That's pretty much why he's in there and why we only have one of him, because he's not going to come up that much. Next we have Nightmare Phoenix for the back row destruction. And then we have Shaman of the Tenyi, which is a good tech card. It's 2 worm monsters. Discard the card, target a worm monster in your graveyard, special summon it. For the rest of the turn, you cannot activate the effects of special summoned monsters from the extra deck, except Tenyi monsters. So this is once again is a card that you would want to end on, or the effect you want to use after you do your combo, basically. When an attack is declared involving your face-up non-effect monster, which includes the token or the Link 1 Tenyi, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. You can only use the effect each effect of Shaman of the Tenyi once per turn. And then next we have Verte Anaconda. So Verte Anaconda has 2 effect monsters. You can target a face-up monster in the field and make it dark until the end of the turn. You could also pay 2,000 life points and send a fusion or polymerization or normal or quick play spell from your deck to the graveyard, and this card's effect becomes that spell's effect when it's activated. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn. You can only use each effect of Predaplant Verde Anaconda once per turn. So because of the you can't special monsters and because of the Fusion Destiny, which is the cards you're going to activate, it's your only target effect of not being able to summon anything except Dark Hero monsters, you typically use Verte after your combo is finished. But that is the main deck and the extra deck, and I'm going to go ahead and throw you guys to the replays. And as always, before we end the main part of our video, I want to let you guys know that this video is sponsored by W Energy. You can use the code down below to get 10% off your order. The code is SirLargeGaming, all one word. And I personally like their new peach mango flavor, and I like W pretty much a lot more than like the canned energy drinks from the grocery store. I feel like it gives me more energy, and it works out to being cheaper. But anyway, I'm going to leave you guys with the replays. If you want me to see me cover another deck, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.